Hi everybody. The time has come for me to make the secret weight loss video that nobody's ever going to see. Let me explain. The last time I checked, in the US, over 5 million people had a security clearance of one level or another. In fact, if you're living in a highly politicized place like DC, it's become a status symbol. Income doesn't matter that much once you make the basic. Who you work for can change, but your level of security clearance defines whether or not you're a player or just one of the flunkies. Well, that might work as a status symbol, but when it comes to actually keeping secrets, the story I've always heard was 3 people can keep a secret if 2 of them are dead. Okay, simple enough, pretty basic. Well, the secrets get kept anyhow. So how do they do this? They give them away. Any actionable intelligence information that was clandestinely gathered, that is used in the decision-making process, is pretty much available to anybody who wants it. But it's blended in with so much wrong, irrelevant, sometimes totally off-the-wall stuff that when you trip over the real deal, you don't recognize it. It's not hiding a needle in a haystack, it's hiding a needle in a stack of needles. Well, the same thing applies when you go on the internet or YouTube and you look for ways to lose weight. I hit 240 pounds, which is my maximum tolerable upper limit. I was pre-diabetic. My blood pressure was hovering somewhere between ridiculous and obscene. My joints weren't working right. Basically the whole litany of health things. I didn't document it. I didn't make any before and after videos because at the time my concern was getting my weight down to a survivable level. It wasn't passing on how I did it to everybody else. That seems to be the big thing today for anyone who loses a significant amount of weight. Go on YouTube and say, "This worked for me." Well, it probably did. But let's review a little basic biology. The human animal is very good. I mean, absolutely fantastic at surviving hardship, deprivation. If we weren't, we probably wouldn't be the dominant species on the planet. It isn't how well you work when things are good that matters, it's how well you survive total catastrophe. This can sometimes include not having anything to eat for extended periods. Most modern first worlders if they go 2 hours without putting something edible in their face, it's unusual. If you ask them to cut back to 2 meals a day instead of 3 squares, it's like, oh my Lord, how can I ever do that? Okay. We need to get our eating habits more in line with what we've evolved to handle over the years. Hardship toughens. Plenty, if it goes on too long, to excess, kills. Well, I am not going to push a diet plan. I'm not selling anything. I don't have a dog in this fight. I'm trying to make things a little bit easier for those of you starting where I was, desperately in need of losing weight and no clue as to which of the hundreds of different weight loss plans available actually worked long term. Well, I found what worked for me. You can eat anything. And really, diets varied over time and culture and locale for people all over the planet. And people survive, and some get overweight, eating just about any diet imaginable. So to say you have to restrict your dietary intake to some rigid list of items, no. It may work. Practically any diet will work short term. But it isn't really relevant. You can't have one group of people that have gone carnivore, eating no carbs at all, and another group that's gone hardcore vegan, however you pronounce it, that doesn't touch meat or anything that came from meat, and both claiming to be equally healthy. Maybe it works for a little while. Okay. But if you're going to lose weight long term, you're pretty much going to have to do it without altering what you eat. And that's it. You've been eating this way since you were a kid. It's going to go on. The second is how much you eat. The standard weight loss model everybody parrots is calories in, calories out. If you want to lose weight, take in less, expend more. And for a lot of reasons, this works really good short term, and in the long run, it's a total train wreck. What you're doing when you do this is basically training your metabolism to do more with less, which is the exact opposite of what you want to do if your goal is to lose weight. So you're going to eat as much as you want. What you need to do is find a weight loss plan that allows that. Because really, sooner or later, you're going to do it anyhow. The biggest thing is to eat food. And this is going to be kind of a strange idea for a lot of people to get their head around. But a lot of the products we buy at the supermarket and consume aren't really technically food. When you look at its long-term effects, sugar, particularly high fructose corn syrup, but sugar as a whole is somewhere between a drug and a poison. It is addictive. If you ask somebody to eliminate all the sugar from their diet, they'll look at you like, oh my God, and which leg do I have to cut off to go with it? But technically, there is no biological requirement for sugar. Any other carbohydrate either, but sugar specifically. Sucrose, what's commonly referred to as sugar in the U.S., is about half glucose and half fructose. And your entire body can burn glucose. Fructose has to be metabolized in your liver, the same way any other toxin is broken down and disposed of. So you got 4 or 5 pounds of liver and you keep dumping fructose in it, long term it's going to kill you. And it doesn't work. So, what is the ultimate diet? Basically, stop eating. Okay, if you say fast, it immediately scares people off, sends them running. Years ago, I went to a sales pitch for a business opportunity that turned out to be one more multi-level marketing scam. And it's like they trained their presenters not to mention the name of the company or the program they were promoting too early. You had to actually hook your audience before you told them who you were working with to keep from chasing them away. Well, hopefully I've done that with the diet. You stop eating every day. And unless you're wrestling sumo, you don't spend your life sitting at a table shoveling it in. And those folks who are trying desperately to gain weight, sumo wrestlers in particular, basically do exactly that. They eat constantly. And I don't know if they go so far as to wake up in the middle of the night for a meal, but pretty close. Well, you don't have to. If you're a normal, ordinary human being, you do stop eating when you sleep. And you don't wake up in 4 hours and go raid the fridge. So you've got, what, 6-8 hour window where you don't eat. I mean, even if the last thing in your mouth is a snack before bedtime and the first thing in the morning is breakfast, you've got 6 to 8 hours when you don't eat. This allows your blood sugar to drop, your stored glycogen to drop, your insulin levels to drop, but if you're constantly eating during your waking moments, they don't drop far enough to burn fat. At best, you slow down how quick you put it on. You need a larger window. I hardly know what a normal schedule is. It's been so long since I've had one. But let's say you crash at 10 p.m. and you skip breakfast and you don't eat lunch until noon the next day. That's a 14-hour window. If you aren't bloated up like post-Thanksgiving feast when you fall asleep, you'll probably reach a point where you'll actually start burning a little bit of fat. You can cut down on the amount of calorie intake, but the big factor is the time when you're not eating and your body is using what you've given it. Okay. Get rid of the sugar. It's not good. You will not lose weight until you stop the sugar. You will not lose weight until you stop eating. You don't have to stop totally. You don't have to go until you're horrendously, wildly eyeballing the fat guy in the elevator in case it stalls hungry. But you do have to get hungry. I mean, blood sugar levels drop, insulin levels drop. It's going to trigger a natural response where you get hungry. And you are going to get hungry before you actually reach the point where you're burning fat. So, yeah, that's bad news, but you'll have to learn to deal with that. Eating was never meant to be a full-time job. Okay? Not for most of us. So, if you go a long enough stretch every day where you don't eat, when the feeding window opens, chow call arrives, you can eat pretty much anything in whatever quantity you like during that feeding window and still lose weight. I've proved it, to myself at least. Last October, I topped 240 pounds. It is now the 10th of September, so we're talking about 11 months later, and I'm 195. And yes, I get hungry every day. And I get full every day. I'm still consuming roughly the same number of calories I was at 240 pounds. About 3,000 calories a day, give or take. The only difference is I'm doing it during a 4-hour feeding window and using the extra 20 hours for recovery time. And it's kind of sad that we live in a country where food is so abundant, so plentiful, that maintaining a healthy weight requires food withdrawal and recovery time. But that's pretty much where we are in the U.S. and most other first world countries. In fact, pretty much every country on earth that has adopted U.S. dietary habits has the U.S. weight problem. So, there it is. Too simple? Really, don't eat, lose weight. Too hard? Once you've done it for a little while, it becomes a habit. I don't feel that I'm on a diet. This is just my eating pattern, the way I eat now. I guess I'll kind of leave it there. Like I say, I'm not pushing any particular plan. I'm just trying to save you some time. If you want to review the material that got me where I'm at, get on YouTube and look for Dr. Jason Fung, F-U-N-G. He does a big thing on intermittent fasting, and he was doing it before it became the latest buzzword for people pushing their diet plan. So if you listen to what he has to say, you'll understand what to do and why it works. And from that point, it's just a matter of, can you manage to do it? I'm not going to say it's easy. I mean, eat as much as you want, eat anything you want, but restrict when you're doing it is not easy. I mean, like I said, you will get hungry. And that is one of the most primal motivations to do something. So it's going to take a little work, and it's going to be a little bit of a challenge. But it is, in my estimation, the least amount of work and the least challenging way to get a positive result. Well, I've kind of run out of my outline, so I'm going to let this go and start the editing process, and hopefully I won't butcher the narrative too bad, cutting out the stuff that's irrelevant or just unneeded. More later.